Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2070, and that one is Spanish Harlem by Aretha Franklin. Here's a picture of the single, and it was also released on her 1971 compilation album, Aretha's Greatest Hits. And here's a picture of Aretha. I think you guys all know about her. Considered she's called the Queen of Soul, probably one of the greatest R&B and soul musicians of all time. This is already the third song I'm featuring by her, and I got plenty more coming up. But I'm going to start as usual by featuring a sample of the song "Spanish Harlem" by Aretha Franklin and reacting to it. So here it goes. Okay, that's the first minute or so of Spanish Harlem by Aretha Franklin. I think it's a really great soul song, but this song has a long history. The original version of the song was by Benny King. He was a pretty famous R&B musician himself, and this was recorded way back in 1960. In case you don't know, Benny King was the lead singer of the Drifters for a while in the late 50s. And his version sounds very, very different. I think they're both really excellent. I don't know which one I really like better, but they have very different sounds. Benny King is much more mellow, and I think the meaning of the song kind of got changed too, actually. And by the way, Benny King's original version is coming up quite a bit higher on my list. But I mean, if you just listen to the lyrics, what the song's really about, I guess it has kind of a double meaning. The singer singing about this rose that's growing up through the cracks of the streets in Spanish Harlem. And, the singer sing how he's picking the rose and taking care of it and making sure it's well nurtured and all that. But what he's really singing about is a woman he's interested in. And I think that the rose is a metaphor for this woman from Spanish Harlem that he's in love with, who comes from kind of a bad part of town, but he wants to take care of her. And I think that was the original meaning of the song. But with Aretha's cover, I think hers came out like 11 years later, and it was was way after civil rights, and there was a lot of racial tension in a lot of different parts of the world, particularly USA. And I think her version was more. I'll just switch back to it. Was more reminiscent of the kind of racial struggles that were going on at the time, and how she was I guess singing about ethnic diversity. She wanted to see more of it. And I think her sentiment was shared by a large portion of the country, and including our listeners. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. And the other thing is she adds a line in it. The original version just says there was a rose in Spanish Harlem. She says there's a rose in black in Spanish Harlem. And it's true that Harlem was known for having a lot of black people, and I guess they did have black neighborhoods of Harlem as well as Spanish neighborhoods, and maybe they lived together. I don't know Harlem very well. I've never actually been in Harlem, but I know it was kind of a black part of Manhattan Island. That's all I know about it because around 125th Street. The farthest north I've ever been in Manhattan was around 85th Street. I don't think I've ever been north of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But maybe someday I'll go into Harlem just to see what it's like. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about the song Spanish Harlem. Maybe I should say a little bit about Aretha Franklin. Like I said, this is already the third song of hers I featured on my list, and I have plenty more coming up. She's an amazing singer. I mean, I think she's one of my favorite singers. Certainly, I think I mean, I think if you wanted to say who were the greatest soul singers of all time, I think it'd probably be a close race between James Brown and Aretha Franklin. I mean, they call James Brown the godfather of soul, and they call Aretha Franklin the queen of soul. I think when people think of soul music, they usually think of the two of them. And Aretha just had an amazing voice. I think she had something like a 4.5 octave range. I mean, she could hit some really super high notes, but she could also sing low. And she sang her songs were pretty diverse as well. I'd say in the '60s her songs were more kind of more upbeat. And then I think the '70s they became a lot mellower, which is kind of what happened to soul music. I think by the '70s became more kind of mellowed out, like a lot of white music too at that time. I don't know. I mean, I prefer most music from the '60s, but she had a very wide diversity of music and just amazing singer and performer. So anyway, so I guess that completes my video for today. So thank you for watching. Here's a little soul music. Thank you for you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.